I'm going to walk through how to scrape 100,000 leads for about $175. This by far is the cheapest, most inexpensive way, and majority of it you could actually automate. If you're willing to spend a few more dollars, you could actually automate all of it depending on the email validator that you use. Everything we're going to do is going to be done off of make.com because it's one of the best platforms out there to be able to automate a lot of tasks. We're going to create a new scenario, and we're going to use this scraper right here. So this is the actor we're going to use, the scraper. It's called Apollo Scraper, and you get 1,000 leads for about $1.20. Right? We're going to click on this. We're going to click on Run an Actor. And this is the actor we're going to select. Now, one of the easier ways to do this is you could basically pick this little code that they have here and paste it onto our actor. But since I already have it here and it has the emoji in front of it, we're going to click this. And if you could go over here, so as you can see, they're both exactly the same, right? We're going to click on run asynchronously. All this means is the actor isn't going to run. So it runs, it gets one lead, and then it goes through the entire scenario. And then it just keeps on doing that. We're going to kill a lot of different operations if we do that. We just want it to run once, scrape the 50,000 leads that we have or 100,000 leads that we have, and only then go to the next step. So over here, we're coming here, we're going to click on no, input JSON. And this is basically whatever you're going to input over here. What lead list do you want to scrape? And what you want to do is you want to go to Apollo. Already have it pulled up here. And I'm really going to quickly walk through what all of these things mean because I think it's extremely important as we start writing the different type of copy for each of these people that we're trying to target over here. So the first thing, the most important thing you want is you want to make sure these three are highlighted, right? Otherwise, if you don't highlight these you scrape a list out of that 1,000 person list, only 50 of them are going to have email addresses. So we only want leads that have email addresses on them, right? And then basically exclude catch-all, that's fine. Job titles, this is the job title that particular person has. For me, for this lead list in particular, I'm picking management level owners, founders, C-suite partners, but I'm excluding CEOs because I've already scraped that lead before, and I just want everybody else now. Like we're talking chief marketing officer, CFO, CTO, CRO, whatever the case is, right? And location, I'm picking Bellevue, even though previously this is all of the United States and the lead list was about 7,000. Just for this example, I'm only gonna scrape 53 leads, and I'm picking Bellevue on purpose. Here's the employee count. This is how many employees the company has. This is a much better indicator how the revenue of the company than revenue is. If you go by revenue, those numbers change all the time. But if you go by employee count, it's much more accurate, and you kind of get an idea depending on the industry what kind of revenue that particular company is making, right? And it also depends where the company is hiring employees from. So if it's a 500 person company, 80% of their employees are based out of India. I would basically guess if you average out all their employees are being paid, and let's just say 20% are in the United States, 80% in India, they're probably making about $40,000 per employee. So you multiply 40,000 multiplied by 500 employees. I don't know the exact math. It's probably around $20 million. Industry, extremely important. And basically that's enough. That's all you really need. You basically copy this URL, you come over here and you paste it in here. One thing you're gonna need the JSON from here. And all you would do, you just copy paste this. And you click on JSON. Basically, you just copy the code that they have here. You go on your make.com and then you basically paste it right down here. Leave all these blank. Sometimes the default setting for a lot of these actors is this is probably going to be 300. So if we click on do it manual and you click on run. Okay, so I actually did this. I typed in no timeout, which is exactly what I want. Normally it's like 300. And what ends up happening, it usually stops, right? And then you gotta resurrect it again, meaning start up the scraper again, which I just don't want to do in this case. So leave this blank. Memory, this is fine. Leave this is all good. Now, when you run this, in fact, we're just gonna run it right now. I don't want to scrape. Actually, this is fine. Let's just run it really quickly and see the different. So I never build the entire application and then run it all at once. I basically run it step by step because I want to see if there's any errors that pop up, which sometimes happens often. Like you're always going to get these little errors. Okay, so the data that I got back, I am happy with this, right? And basically next thing I want to do is get the data set. So click on Amplify again. And this is actually going to give you the proper data set. You come over here. For search items, you just type in data and default data ID. This is fine, right? Limit, just for this example, I'm only going to do 5. And everything else is fine. You could just leave it as default. And now you're going to run it again. And now we're going to get the proper data from here. It's going to show it in output. Let's just give it a second here. Perfect. So see, even though there are 5 bundles here, the operation only ran one time here and one time here. So there's only 2 operations that were consumed. Otherwise, if I did it asynchronously, right? If I did this, it'd basically run 5 operations here and 5 operations here. That would be 10 operations. So you can start seeing how it could be very pricey as the longer you run it. So this is perfectly fine. I'm happy with this. So the next step is, so I could basically pull a list of 5 leads, and we could put it into Google Sheets right now, but I'm not going to do that because I want to make sure these emails that we're going to be scraping are actually validated. So what we're going to do is we're going to use an application called NeverBounce, right? We're going to get an email verification. The email we're going to pick is, we are going to pick this person's email right here. Leave everything alone, right? One thing you're going to have to do is you're going to have to add an API key. The way you do that, you go on NeverBounce, you create an account. And if you go to the dashboard, which is the dashboard, click on integrate, click on create new app, make.com demo, right? And basically you come over here, create an app. And you click that. And basically you get the API key over here. You just copy this and then you just paste it into make.com. But I've already done that, so I'm not going to take that step. So everything is fine. We click on email, and now I basically want to put everything on Google Sheets. I'm basically going to be adding the row in, right? So go to Google over here, open up a new Google Sheet, blank sheet. And now what are some of the things that I want? And in fact, I always put a unique identifier in front of it. I always type in V21, Apollo lead list example. Right? So one of the things that I want their first name, I want their last name, email address, company name, LinkedIn URL. Let's see, LinkedIn URL, and also the status of the email. But right before I do that, so the first name, last name, email, company name, LinkedIn URL, that's fine. And status of email, whether or not the email is actually even valid. Right, so I have this, and I'm going to go back to make.com, and I'm going to click on select from all. Let's find it. Now, because I put that unique identifier there, it's a V21. So let's type in V21, and now it's going to give us the sheet ID. You didn't have to do this. All you could really have to do is go over here. Whatever this code is, you would just copy it, and then you would just paste it down here, and basically you're done. Sheet 1 is the sheet that it's in. Right? And okay, first name, let's just populate it with all this information. Again, don't touch this yet because you just want the result from here. In fact, I'll do that first. So status of email, actually not that. Boom, there you go, and you leave it alone. So we're gonna click on first name, we're gonna click on last name and match it up with last name. Email, this one's quite important. Company name. Oh, you know what I forgot? I forgot the URL. Okay, let's see. What I meant is the website of the company, but I'm not going to use it for this example. So, but I recommend doing that. Okay, we click on save, and now we're basically going to run it and see if everything is validated or if everything is good. Okay, what did I leave empty? That looks fine to me. All right, let's give it a second. In fact, what I probably should have done is tested NeverBounce, making sure it's connected correctly on its own. So I should have ran the module on its own. And I'll walk through what that looks like in a second here. Okay, perfect. It's running 2, 3, 4, 5. Awesome. Perfect. There you go. So all these emails are valid, except for this one. It's a catch-all email. I probably wouldn't send it to catch-all emails because some email platforms, it usually doesn't go through. It gets a bounce. So I'd probably delete this email account. So boom, there you go. And you could basically do this for as many leads as you want. For this one, you could scrape up to 50,000 leads for this platform over here. And it's only $1.20 per 1,000 leads. But that's not what I said in the beginning of the video. I said you could scrape 100,000 leads for $175. And here's the way you actually do that. But now this is like if you have a VA, you want to manually do this process. What I would do, if I want to save a few dollars, I would go over here. Here's a web scraper. It's called Boomerang. And Boomerang charges you $1 for every 1,000 leads. So Apollo charges you $1.20. Boomerang charges you just $1 for 1,000 leads. I would go over here. I would basically, input all my information. And they usually give you a lead list within 3 to 6 hours. Now, the advantage of Apollo is it's instant. These guys, you got to wait for 3 to 6 hours. Once you get that lead list, you go on this app over here. It's called Bulk Email Checker. This by far is actually really good. Is the cheapest way to validate leads. It's $75 for 100,000 leads. So for 100,000 leads over here, this is going to cost you $100. And for you to validate those 100,000 emails, it's going to cost you $75. That's where I get the total from. So that's basically it. That's the video. And I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.